the latest in a long line of defensive greats to come out of Penn State.
For myself, I just want to play every play better than the play before, and I just try to get better each play. You make a tackle for a loss or something, it doesn't really, unless you really nail them, I don't feel that great, about it. It's like, well, I could have, put my helmet someplace else where, put it right on his chest instead of like arm passing.
In 1986, Penn State completed its second consecutive undefeated regular season, a tribute to the defensive leadership of senior Shane Conlan.
So let's talk about this picture, which is an unbelievable picture. When you saw that in the Sports Illustrated, what did you think? Did you know that you were going to be featured?
I wasn't expecting it, but
yeah, they were here for like 2 days taking different pictures.
Yeah.
And
we hadn't been dating very long at that point.
They chose that one, thank God. So then I had to marry her after that.
Being in Sports Illustrated was in fact the point of no return for him.
Yeah, it was in print. So
yeah.
He didn't want to have to look back at that.
Couldn't get out of that
years.
one.
Yeah, this year, 1986, pick it up, show it to somebody else, that wouldn't work.
Right. Yeah. Well, it would have, but it's funny how it works out though.
So when they came in and they did this is a whole article.
Right.
I mean, this is major league stuff. Joe's on the front cover.
Right.
Sportsman of the Year.
Yep.
And
it was a big game. Is that kind of the issue before the the national championship game? So they tried to cover as much as they could. So it's a good article.
Good article.
Yeah, I liked it. Except for a couple of things that misquoted, but no, I can't even remember it to tell you the truth. But it's a good picture.
Their own 26-yard line. We're tied 7-7. Just over 12 minutes to go in the third quarter. Testaverde steps away again. Got out of the arms of two rushers, and finally the third man gets it. Shane Conlan.
This is what you get. Highsmith again. He's a linebacker playing fullback. He doesn't care about his body.
He's 184 yards. As time slips a bit, throws, it's intercepted by Conlan. Conlan stumbles and falls. Testaverde with both backs in the block, throws, and it is intercepted. Conlan.
did you keep this memorabilia?
I'm not the best at it. Shane's mom always kept everything.
Yeah.
Scrapbooks and all that, but I keep it in a couple of bins.
Yeah.
We'll get around to putting it up.
I sign a lot of these. People send them in. It's amazing how many Sports Illustrated I've signed. I was on the cover once, and the Bills one. Signed a bunch of those, so it's kind of cool.
Are you asked to go out and to do memorabilia shows?
Yeah, I do a couple a year. I do.
Yeah.
A couple big ones.
Are these Bills related? Penn State related?
The last one was a Penn State. The theme was Penn State Linebacker U. So they had like 12 linebackers from Penn State, former linebackers from Penn State. So yeah, that was a good time. It was in Washington.
Oh really? Was it a fundraiser for Penn State?
No, it was just this particular one does. It's in Washington. They pick a theme every year, but the same guys are always there. Pete Rose, the Johnny Betches, all the most of the quarterbacks, the Hall of Fame quarterbacks are all there. And this one, the theme was the Penn State linebackers. So
when he gets drafted by the Bills, signs with Buffalo, you move to Buffalo. What was it like moving up to a kind of a new area for you, Caroline?
I didn't move right away. I was working for 2 years before I actually made the move to Buffalo, and I made sure I had a job. I worked for the Bisons.
Did you really?
Yeah. I worked for Rich Products, so I moved up here, and then we got married about a year after that. But it was great.
Were you with the Bisons when Balani and company?
Yeah. Yep.
I just talked to Mike.
Oh, really? Yeah.
He's the original P.T. Barnum.
Yes, he is. Yeah, he is.
And you could see people in that 18,000 seat stadium, and there'd be like 3,000 people, and somehow the attendance was always 15,000.
Yeah, they had a way with numbers.
yeah.
I think it was tickets sold. It wasn't attendance, but yeah.
Give me your best Mike Bellani story.
Oh my gosh. He'd drag me around to stuff. I don't know if I could tell this.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, no, he was. I remember once we went to see O.J. Simpson was in town, and made a big deal about that. But I just enjoyed that job a lot.
Yeah, Mike's a good guy.
Were you in sales?
I was in promotion. I was a promotional sales manager.
So Butchkowski and Marta?
Marta Hashevsky, Robin Leonard, all those girls. Yeah.
And John Danny's was just down here a couple of days ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I still keep in touch with a lot of those people.
Tremendous success and accolades and awards galore in football. But in your early days in Frewsburg, you were a star in baseball and other sports.
Yeah.
Would baseball have been? Do you pause about that?
Sometimes, but I remember Tom Sharp, my coach, would say, I was a pretty good baseball player, but it's very difficult to get all the way up to the highest level in baseball, and he knew that because he did it. He was a former minor league player, so he said, "I'm telling you, football's the way to go. You get your education paid for, and see what happens after that." So that's kind of what I was. My favorite sport was basketball by far. I mean, I loved it, and football. I just, I tell people I had the niche. I was fast and angry, and it kind of worked out for me. So, but baseball was a lot of fun. Put a lot of time into that growing up.
Is he through this anger phase now, Carolyn?
He's just getting started. He's a great. He's not very patient, but he's a great dad.
Yeah, I'm tough to live with sometimes.
The kids, they say he's pretty tough on them, but we've got 4 great kids, and I attribute a lot of that to
3 boys
Shane.
and a girl?
Yeah, 3 boys and a girl.
I know I've read somewhere that with the kids, you didn't necessarily say you're going to play football.
No.
In fact, if anything, this is on your own. You're not going to start too early. You're not going to get into midgets. But once they turned this, said yes, I'm going to be in football.
Yeah.
Then you turned on.
Right. Well, if they're going to do it, they're going to do it the right way. And which I never had a problem with either one. My older 2, one's a senior and just graduating from Hobart College, was a 2-year starter there, set all kinds of records there. So he got it. And my next one is going to William & Mary on a full scholarship. So he got it. It was very difficult to watch my oldest play because we had a really bad team, and he was a quarterback, and he touched the ball he would just get the crap beat out of him every single game. He went one season without winning a game. I think the next year he won 1. That was his junior and senior year. So he really took it. And every year he was out, missed the last 2 games with a broken ankle. What else did he break? Concussions, and that was tough to watch. But my second, Christopher, he's kind of fun to watch because he's more of a wide receiver. Only touches a few times a game, and so it's a little easier on that.
Yeah.
For Shane Conlan to make up one of the top inside linebacking duos in the league. Overall, Buffalo's defense was without weakness, and it ranked number 1 in the AFC. Its numbing effect on opponents earned it the nickname Blizzard Defense, and at the center of the storm were the 10.
They're on. Conlan returned from a knee injury to earn a trip to his 2nd straight Pro Bowl. An injured
the Bulldog in the middle alongside Ray Bentley. And Darryl Talley was the consistent
number 58, Shane Conlan, who also put together his finest season.
So back to Buffalo. You find your way back finally into Buffalo Bisons. What's a game week normally like during the season for you, Carolyn? I mean, is he kind of out of commission for that
for
week?
The NFL week?
NFL, yeah.
I don't know. It just seemed like they just went to practice and came home and just. It was just like a regular routine. It was very predictable.
Yeah.
And then Saturday night they'd stay at a hotel.
It's like a regular job.
Yeah.
And then home afterwards. It's not like a baseball player. So it was nice to have that schedule.
Among the wives, was there a sort of a sorority of that sort?
That was a close-knit group. We had a lot of fun. I think being in Buffalo with the weather, how it is, and not much, I don't know, not like being in LA or another market like that. You really kind of stuck together like a family. So, through Facebook, been able to stay in touch with a lot of them. So it's been nice.
What was game day like? Did you have a box? Did you have a suite? Did you?
No,
she just tailgating and went to the game and met up afterwards and would hang out with family afterwards.
Yeah.
It was, Shane was lucky he had family here, so.
Right.
Yeah, they didn't miss too many games.
Was it hard ultimately to decide to go to the Rams? I mean, was it a contract deal? Was it?
Yeah. Obviously, if my druthers, I would have stayed in Buffalo, but they were throwing around too much money, and the Bills said they would match, but then I went, and that's when Bill Polian had just left, just got fired, and then John Butler took over. I guess he wasn't the biggest fan, and so he said Marv wanted me, went to bat for me, but he said they just couldn't pay me what the Rams would pay me, so ultimately I had to go. And it was down between the Rams and the Raiders, and I visited those two teams over a weekend, and they're kind of bidding, so it worked out.
Did you meet Al Davis?
I did. Yeah, I sat with him for a while.
What was he like?
He was he would ask me more questions about their team. Like, what do you think of the guys that I played against? What do you think of this guard or this guy or that? It really was a long, strange conversation. And then at the end, he would just ask me, "Hey, what am I looking for?" And I told him, and so. But yeah, it was he's an icon. You're sitting right across from him. You see him all those years. It was quite a thrill.
Speaking of icons, on the front cover, of course, is Joe, which he's now had all his victories reinstated. When you were there during that time period, did you deem him to be iconic, or was he just your coach?
No, he was iconic back then. I mean, being recruited by, first it was Tom Bradley, but then getting to meet Joe Paterno. I mean, that was always my favorite college football team growing up. So you see that myth, the legend, and then you get yelled at by him. So it was great. Was
he hands-on?
Yes, very much so. But I hear at the end he wasn't. But then again he was 80 years old. So I had him. He was, he was in his 60s. And the last time I saw him, after the national championship game, we're riding in a limo. We were going to a Good Morning America show the next morning after we won the national championship. I said, "Hey, Coach, how long are you gonna coach?" He goes, "Probably 2 or 3 more years." That was in 1987. So he went another 20-some.
I think that was his standard answer.
Yeah,
it's crazy. 20 years.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, but more about Joe was just. That's why the stuff that went on this past couple of years upset so many of us because they don't know, saying it's what they were trying to say about him is just completely off base. He could care less. He cared about the student and not so much the athlete. I mean, he obviously liked to win games, but at what cost? No way. He was the greatest guy I've ever met.
Could you talk about your conversation with him shortly before he passed? Didn't you call that story you tell is
Yeah, well, a friend of mine said, I played with, he said, "Hey, Joe wants to talk to you." This is right after he was, I think he was diagnosed. He was sick, but it just happened. He just got fired. So I call him up thinking, that I'm going to get somebody, an assistant or somebody. And he's like, "Hello," and I said, and it's him. It's like the bat phone into his, into his office. So we just start talking. And he's like, and he didn't want to talk anything about him. He just wanted to talk about me and my children and how I'm doing. And he knew the names of my parents. He knew the name of my son, who was kind of being recruited by Penn State. It just was an awesome. awesome phone conversation.
I suspect that's just a difficult chapter.
Sure was. I mean, this is 20 years after I graduated, so you can understand how the kids that that were there punishing the wrong, how they overstepped their bounds, the NCAA, they're punishing the wrong kids. You can go on and on and on. It just ruined so many lives.
A lot of collateral damage.
It sure was. It's just sad.
Do your children know much about what he did?
Well, I think this past, with the Hall of Fame award this year, I think that really opened their eyes to what he did, what he accomplished, and the work ethic it took. So, yeah.
Did they talk to you about that? I mean, did they ask you to sit down and say, "Hey, Dad, tell me about Bruce Smith"? Or
Not really. My oldest son did back when he was. They get to that age where they're not interested in anything. Then they kind of see you signing autographs at a Penn State game, and they're like, look at you. And my daughter's the same way, and they're like, wow, you must have been somebody, So he did, but the other guys, not a whole lot.
It's not uncommon. I mean, the reality is,
right.
Your dad.
Yeah.
For better or worse.
Right. No, exactly.
Are you able to? Is he able to put on his helmet anymore now that he's had all these awards?
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah.
He's always been humble. Yeah.
What's the question you would like to ask him that we should know about? So if you were interviewing, what would you ask him?
Is he the luckiest man in the world?
I don't know. When did you know that you would be something big?
I think probably I redshirted probably that first practice that with pads. Nobody knew who I was, and then we had this drill one-on-ones against the tight end, and this tight end was pretty good player, and I kind of got the best of him. Then I figured, hey man, these guys aren't as good as I thought, because I had no idea what I was getting into. I used to play against kids that were, my starting line was 130 pounds. I bet they averaged 150 pounds. And I was the biggest kid on the team at 175. So I had no idea what I was getting myself into. But my dad always thought I'd be all right. He said, you'll be just fine. So then I think throughout, put on some weight and then just figure out that you're as good as these guys are.
Do you have a follow-up question? That was very good. That aha moment. That was terrific.
I don't know. Maybe I think our first son, he had a great college career, but our next son, I think Shane sees the potential for him to have that kind of moment too. Maybe when he gets to school.
Yeah, I think he's going to be good. This one. He's just athletic and. He doesn't have my anger, but he definitely is a better athlete than I was. Yeah, I do. I remember. I think I scored on a kickoff on a touchdown. I remember that. And the one thing, I didn't have my mouthpiece in, and they ran it. And I think I was young. I think I was a freshman. And he was kept running it back. He said, "What's wrong with this?" You could see it flopping. Tom was like, "What's wrong?" I said, "I don't know. It's a good run." No, he goes, "You don't see what you did. That could have cost us the game by not putting it in." I remember that like it was yesterday.
A rapidly developing defense was led by All-Pro Bruce Smith. 1987 first-round draft pick Shane Conlan.
What are your early memories of Conlan? God, I've been blessed, I think, with good players and good kids down there in Shrewsbury since I've been head coach. Shane Conlan, naturally, was one of them. He was really a gifted athlete. He gives me a lot of credit for getting him in down there and his early coaching and all that stuff. And what I tell him is, that kid, regardless, it doesn't matter who would have coached him.
Spent a lot of time because I talked to Shane about that.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter because who would have coached him or anything else, it wouldn't have mattered because that kid had, everything it takes to be a real professional athlete, the right attitude.
I owe Tom everything. He fought for me. Nobody was, I didn't get recruited by anybody other than Penn State. And then I got a lot of letters, a lot of turn downs, but Tom kept after Tom Bradley and made it happen.
You guys have been great. This is a hoot.
Yeah.
Former Penn State linebacker Shane Conlan has been inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. Conlan was the leader of Penn State's 1985 and 86 defenses, the latter which won the national title. He's the 23rd Nittany Lion player or coach to join the College Football Hall of Fame, and he got a little choked up at his induction earlier today.
You know, it's been a tough time the last few years at Penn State, so most of all, they're most important to me in my life. One being obviously the late, great Joe Paterno. Thank you so much for all you've done. We miss you, Coach.